This is the Jungle Roar Skinny Bengals postgame pod for Week 5. It was a heartbreaker at Paycor Stadium, 41-38 in overtime. Justin Tucker hits the game-winning field goal from 24 yards out with about 3 minutes left in the extra session. Skinny, this was a game the Bengals had won. It felt like several times they had not won. Not two. They had 3 10-point leads in the second half. The defense couldn't hold it. But it wasn't just, I think, the defense kind of failing at certain points. They were going up against a fantastic offense and fantastic quarterback in Lamar Jackson. No question. But it was the inability to execute down the stretch that a lot of people pointed to in that locker room, in that Bengal locker room we were in, that really led to them losing their fourth game in 5 outings this season.
Mike, the thing is, you can point to every phase. You can point to coaching, Zach Taylor getting conservative in the overtime period after they recovered the fumble. You can point to Joe Burrow, who was so good, and that's what stinks because he was so good all day, throwing an interception on the slant route to Jamar Chase when they were trying to add on. You can point to the defense, which had issues all day. You can point then to Ryan Rekow for, unfortunately, not dropping, but kind of muffing a snap from center and trying to put a placement down for Evan McPherson missing the field goals. Mike, it was every phase from coaching to quarterback and offense to defense to special teams. And that's kind of the microcosm of this season, is it not? I mean, this team has lost 4 games. This team's lost 4 games by 16 total points to Kansas City, which is going to go deep in the playoffs, to Baltimore, which is going to go deep in the playoffs, and now to a Washington team that we look and go, gosh, they're pretty good. They're probably going to the playoffs. Maybe not. Maybe stuff happens as the season goes along, but they're really good at the moment offensively. And so you can look and go, those aren't awful losses in the micro. They're awful losses in the macro. And I mean, 1-4 is 1-4, and they could still, Mike, they could be easily 4-1 if not for a Dejon Anthony penalty, if not for not getting a stop against Washington, which again, that's probably not it's a thing. It's not a thing they couldn't control, but they can control that. And then today, literally, you had a chance to either get closer for the field goal, kick the field goal, not throw an interception, get a defensive stop, not let Derrick Henry go out for 51 yards to get down to the 6. It was everything today in a nutshell.
I want to take one quote, and this was asked by Paul Dehner Jr. postgame of Joe Burrow. Is there a lot of feeling of disbelief at 1-4? It feels like every game you make enough plays to win the game, like Skinny just said, but haven't been able to totally finish. Joe Burrow's answer: no, I know exactly how we are 1-4. We're not making plays at the end of the game to go and win it. I'm definitely not in disbelief. I know exactly what's happening. What were your thoughts when he said that?
Yeah, no, and he's right. And some of that, no offense, dude, Mike, he was so good today. He was ridiculous, but at the wrong place, wrong time. And we can credit Marlon Humphrey for the jump of the route. We can credit or debit Jamar Chase, who admitted that he ran a bad route.
Took blame. He said, I ran a crappy route and clean it up.
And I'm not sure I believe that, but that's fine. And I'm glad for him taking accountability for that. And we can blame Joe Burrow for making that throw. There's so much blame to go around. And like I said, then you can go back to the overtime period. Ball at the 38-yard line. Are you really going to settle for a 53-yard field goal? Are you really?
I'm going to play
devil's lot.
Advocate. I'm going to play devil's advocate, and I'll
that's fine.
What Zach Taylor was thinking. We cannot afford to take a penalty. We certainly can't afford to get sacked.
Understood.
And I think his fear was somebody's going to break through. Especially, I believe at that point, Amarius Mims had returned to the game.
He did. Yes, that's right, Mike.
And he returned for the last series, I believe, of regulation when it was 38-38.
And it might have been a series earlier. I don't think it was. I think we all kind of guessed at that, but I think to your point, I think you're right on that. Yes.
And my guess is that Zach Taylor was like, we are in field goal position. We're giving our best.
Are you?
Second to third. I think they are. I mean, with Evan McPherson, when you're at that spot with the wind being relatively calm, sunny day, weather wasn't an issue. You assume you get the snap down, that ball's going through.
So what I wrote on local12.com was I didn't point to that. I made that certainly a factor because it was like literally there was every phase of the game had their issue, from defense to
No
not making
question.
stops to Joe Burrow throwing a pick to Evan missing the kick because of the bad hold, whatever. So
Right.
it wasn't the only factor of the game. But here's the only thing I would say to that, Mike. And I'm not saying you're wrong, because there's a part of me as a coach myself. I coach high school basketball, and I kick myself 50 ways from Sunday on decisions that don't go right. I kick myself. I swat myself.
You're
in
a
the back
natural coach, Skinny.
and I go, man, that was a good call, my guy. So I get it. But who's the best player on the Bengals? I mean, Mike, who's the best?
Obviously.
Thank you. Right. I knew that answer. So that was kind of rhetorical. So Joe Burrow's the best player on the Bengals, and you're not going to let him throw a pass. I know he checked out of one, because both Joe and Zach admitted that he checked out of a play that didn't look right, and that's fine. I'm good with that part, and you are too. We all are. I mean, that's what quarterbacks do. They check out of plays they don't think are going to work, and I'm fine with that. But you're going to go 3 straight runs and go for a 53-yarder? Man, that's a big ask of a kicker. I know he can thump it. I love Evan, but gosh darn, that's a big ask. When Joe Burrow was cooking all day, other than the interception was bad. Whoever's fault it was, Joe's, Jamar's, whatever.
Right.
He was cooking all day, and you're not going to let him throw a ball, and you're paying him that kind of money, and you're not going to trust him to make the right decision, right play? I'm not sure I live with that, Mike.
Okay, Kelsey Conway followed up that answer with, to that point, when a season like this has gone the way it has, a lot of questions will be asked about the preparation. Do you feel there's enough accountability from the coaching staff to the players right now? Joe Burrow's answer: there have been tough conversations had. I think our coaches are handling it the right way. And whenever you're 1-4, whenever you're in a tough situation, there are tough conversations that are going to be had that guys aren't going to like. Those conversations have been had. So I'm happy with how we're going about it. We obviously have to win. That's no secret. But I think people are handling it the right way.
Yeah, that was an interesting comment, because I don't know if is that a Cam Taylor-Britt question? Is that a Lou Anarumo to his defense question? Is that a question to guys that have come back off of injury? Is it a T. Higgins question? Is it Jamar Chase question? That was an interesting answer to me. I'm not sure what to make of that. What did you make of that? So I'm going to throw it back at you.
I think
I'm not sure what to make of that, Mike.
I think the tough conversations to be had have to do with everybody doing what they need to do during the week to be prepared. And I think usually when I see that or hear that, it's players not being in the right position.
That's a fair point.
And not being prepared. You're not necessarily going to get on a guy for making a physical mistake in a game. If you get beat, if Cam Taylor-Britt, who lost Zay Flowers on the first drive of the game, he excuse me, he had a bad coverage downfield, used bad technique. That's a physical mistake. I think that point of Joe Burrow's is pointed mainly at focus and preparation during the week. That's what I think that quote gets to.
So I guess I would ask this, because we can try to poke around this, because we talked to both coordinators. We talked to Zach. We talked to them on the record a lot. We talked to them off the record a lot. Who is that isn't doing that is the question. That's the part for me that's interesting, because I don't know who that's pointed towards. I
think if you get into that too much, that's when the finger pointing starts.
Sure.
And I think
that's not good.
What Burrow is trying to do, he's trying to let everybody know players are getting talked to. And the whole idea that players aren't going to like it and don't like it, the coaches are trying to get some of these players to wake up and get them pissed off. And I think that's working. And I think the effort level is very representative of a winning team. They're just not doing what they need to at the end of games. So
no, it's so weird, Mike, because I mean, I do. It's funny. This team is 1-4, and again, this is going to sound stupid. They could easily
3-2 at the worst.
4-1, 3-2 at the worst. Yes,
right.
And that's the part that's so frustrating if you're a fan, if you're a player, if you're the coaching staff, because it's not like they're light years away. You played it. I think you would agree with this. Baltimore's really good. I mean, they're just really
Yeah,
good.
I mean,
Lamar makes just such. I mean, how many times a day he make a play? You go, my word, what was that? You just stiff armed a dude who's 300 pounds and you shoved him out of your face and you kept scrambling and then you just slung one back across the goal line to a guy. You have no business doing that. That's the dumbest play ever. And oh, hi, Isaiah Likely. That's a touchdown. I mean, that's where they're at the moment, but that's also that shows the margin of error is so doggone small that's where you're at with that.
See, and I think fans are going to be upset because they see John Harbaugh and Harbaugh teams are winning those games.
Yep, they are.
Zach Taylor teams are losing that game.
Great point.
And that's what Bengal fans are going to center on. Rightly, wrongly, fairly, unfairly.
I think it's fair.
John Harbaugh has a Super Bowl ring. John Harbaugh's been to a couple of other AFC championship games. John Harbaugh has that winning culture behind him. And I think Zach Taylor thought he was so close to getting that winning.
Yeah.
Certainly after 2022. In a game like today, that winning culture has to show up at the end of the game. And it's not there. And you can't, there's no injuries to blame today, right?
No
injuries.
I mean, you could argue Dak's going down affecting the secondary, but yes.
The team, and the news doesn't look like it's going to be great on Dax Hill, and certainly that had an impact on the pass deep. That alone, even when Dax went down, this team found a way to come back and get 10-point leads 3 different times. That is not the culture of a winning program.
No, and that's what's so weird. I honestly, when the touchdown pass to Jamar Chase that made it 38-28, in my mind, I'm like, wow, that was the play of plays. You have Eric All and Drew Sample, who are nothing more. Well, Eric All's not a bit part. Eric All's going to be a really good player, right?
Right.
But for that play, he was a bit part. And those two dudes made 2 great blocks to spring Jamar Chase on a 70-yard touchdown. You're like, okay, 38-28, you're good. And they weren't good. And that's the amazing part to me. They weren't even close to good. And, again, some of you, like I said, you can pin this on everybody. Then you go down the next drive at 38-35 and Joe throws an interception. The worst part, he was so stinking good. And he throws that. And again, Jamar can pin it on himself. You can tip your cap to Marlon Humphrey because he is really good. They love to play inside leverage on stuff like that. They're really good at playing slants. It was funny because I think in last week's game against Buffalo, the broadcast crew for NBC pointed that out, and I'm like, that's an interesting point. And then Marlon plays that leverage today, makes a great play. But the thing is, I don't. We all try to point a finger at this of how do you make an extra play, and I'm not sure they understand how to make an extra play, Mike.
No.
Do they?
They haven't demonstrated it.
Correct.
And you are what you are.
Yes.
Bill Parcells would always say confidence is the demonstration of ability time after time after time. And the Bengals are not doing that right now. That's why they don't play with a lot of confidence at the end of games. You have to eventually make those plays at end of the games. Last week, you could say they did that against Carolina.
Yes, with running the ball. Yes.
And they absolutely made the plays they had to make. Evan McPherson did hit that field goal that made it 34-24 last week. Game over. They didn't do it this week. What a segue that is to my next point.
Uh-oh.
I tweeted, and you know where I'm going with this, the ghost of Christmas Eve, Brad St. Louis.
Oh, my Lord.
2000. Now, that was a bad snap.
Well, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't bad. It wasn't over somebody's head. It wasn't short hopped. It was not perfect.
No.
And I felt
he gets a lot of grief for that, but continue your point.
No, but so we were all in a tough spot, and I'm pretty sure you were in on this with Ryan Rekow. I think you were. And Cal Adamitis is next to him in the locker. And I think the question was asked about the snap. And Ryan, to his credit, didn't roll Cal under the bus, which is really nice to see. And those guys are so tight. They get it. Like, we're going to make a mistake every once in a while. You pick me up. I'll pick you up. I'll make a bad snap. Help me. I'll make a perfect snap. You'll put a bad hold down. Help me. And based on the whole recollection of watching the replay, wasn't perfect snap, right?
No.
It was inside. It was low and inside. And Cal's really good usually. And then Ryan says, I tried to put it down too fast.
Right.
And he did. And it was so wonky that Evan had no chance. Because as we all saw in the press box, right? As soon as, and fans saw it too, as soon as the kick went up, it's like, oh my gosh, he didn't hit that cleanly at all. That's weird. And then you see the replay and you're like, I understand why that's weird. And so I'm not sure who to blame on that. I'm not sure it's fair to blame a guy. It always is, because fans want to blame somebody. I think it's just, you know what? That's why you don't try a 53-yard field goal, Mike. That's why.
I mean, but Skinny, that could have happened on a 28-yard field.
Sure.
It would have been a bad
sure.
snap, but
sure.
But to your point, and I'll give you the credit here. If that's a shorter field goal, maybe he gets that thing up in the air, and even on a bad snap, he got it up.
He got it up enough to go about 50 yards short, wide left. That said, the point is, and I think my lead on my column was, that's never automatic, even though these guys are good from 50 yards plus. You know what's automatic, Mike? Do you know what's automatic?
Oh, I'll tell you what's automatic is running the ball into the end zone and scoring a touchdown.
That's exactly what's automatic. It doesn't have to be a running play, but I've got my $290 gazillion quarterback who's been hot all day. It's one thing if Joe had, and I get maybe they're spooked by the interception. They shouldn't have been, because usually when Joe throws an interception, he's really good after that. Were they spooked? If they were spooked, shame on you guys, man.
Yeah, and now as you say that, Skinny, I'm buying into what you're saying. Like, and there were some of these comments after the game, on the X, and I'm doing so much after the game, I kind of just let it slide, and I don't pay them any. Never mind, but Zach Taylor isn't using his best player to coach aggressively.
Right.
And that cannot be accepted.
No.
Under any circumstances, you expect your best player to go out and win the game. And remember, it was, I believe, against San Francisco, the overtime game in 2021. It was essentially the same criticism. You remember that, Skinny?
Correct.
Right?
They hit Kittle for the touchdown, I think, if I'm not wrong. It was something like that.
Brandon Ayuk, I think.
Oh yeah, no, I think you're right. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right.
Brandon
right.
Ayuk.
But yeah, so yeah, that to your point today, I don't need to throw it 3 straight downs. I would certainly throw it on first down, and you call a quick pass play, and Joe's smart enough to, if somebody's in his face, to go throw it away. Right. And on second down, throw it away. He's smart enough. You don't give enough credit to be smart enough to go, hey, man, I'm not kicking us out of field goal range. Now, I know the one at the end of regulation, he held it for a bit and got sacked, but that was the end of regulation. There was no hurry or urgency to do something. There was urgency to do something here, and you don't let him throw a pass? Come on.
I was really, I got to tell you, though, with a minute 35, I believe it was, to go in regulation.
In regulation, yeah.
I'm like, well, they've got a great opportunity here. Then they get sacked on first down, and I'm like, that's a breakdown. That's when I think I thought the pressure came from over the Bengals' right side of the offensive line, and I don't know if it was Amarius Mims.
It was Amarius because he came back in the game.
Yeah, and I think they targeted that right away.
I understand that, but I mean, Mike, back to the overtime thing. I'm not going to let Joe Burrow not try to win this game for me. The way he was playing, the way the ball was coming out of his hand, the decision making he's good at. Again, the sack in regulation was one of, okay, I'm taking a sack. It's regulation. I'm not going to do something stupid. Overtime down there, he's going to throw it away or he's going to eat it. He's going to figure out something to do. And you went run, kick. And listen, we all love Evan. Evan's a great kid. He's a great kicker. And if that ball had been held properly, and I feel so sad for Ryan Rico because he's been such a good holder, such a good punter, all those things. I'm sad for that kid. And we all are. I mean, whether you're, I'm not a homer by any stretch, but I'm sad for the kid. But at the end of the day, you literally played for a 53. That's what you played for, was a 53-yard field goal. I don't want to play with that. I don't want that. No. I don't want any part of that.
Okay, let's get on to Jamar Chase.
Yep.
Skinny, He had a remarkable day.
Silly.
10 catches, 12 targets, 193 yards. I know the catch and run was his athleticism,
Yeah.
but the catch he made with 9 seconds to go in the first half was just a thing of beauty. And what impressed me also about that play was the hit that Joe Burrow took to complete that pass.
Well, Mike, the play before, if you remember,
Oh, yes, I do.
Yeah, he threw an 18-yarder to Jamar.
A dig.
It was a little bit inside. He made a really good catch on that ball. Not a great catch, but a really good catch. Like if he'd have dropped it, you go, "Oh, okay, I get it." And when he did, it's not like you have to gush over it. But that route for the 41-yard touchdown, I mean, Joe steps away from pressure at the moment. He's got a guy coming into his lap, and he just launches it. And Jamar crosses left to right. It was a thing of beauty. And Jamar, based on the way the season is going, because you're going to have to score so many damn points to win games, he might have a chance. I swear to God, Mike, he might have a chance for 120 catches for 1,800 yards. You can correct me if I'm wrong when you think that, but the way this season is going, that feels like where it's going.
I mean, I remember tweeting after that touchdown. I tweeted Jamar, Joe Burrow to Jamar, incredible play, $3.
Incredible.
$3 signs.
You're right.
After that. Because if there was any need, not that we didn't already know, Skinny, but that play, those 2 plays, the play you mentioned on the dig,
yep,
to get them in this to the 41.
I thought that was a better catch, Mike. I thought that was a better catch.
Probably,
but yeah,
that's a fair point. And then the touchdown right after that, those 2 plays told you why Jamar Chase is worth so much. And it's going to cost the Bengals now a lot more to get him signed next year.
Yeah,
it just is.
It is. I'm just at the oak of I'm not sure where we go with this. I just don't know where they go. I'm not sure where the team goes. Where he asks what they want to get. It's a weird spot, but I mean, I got to give this dude credit. The New England game was wonky because the New England game was wonky in general. Yep. Since that point in time, he has been absurdly good. Not just good, absurdly good.
You can make a case right now with 5 touchdowns. He had 2 today, so he has 5 touchdowns in his last 3 games.
Insane.
And he's producing. He's doing everything he said he would do for this team offensively if you give him a chance to shine. Joe Burrow's numbers, we talked about what kind of day he's had.
Yep.
30 of 39, 392 yards, and the 5 touchdowns.
My word.
A career high. Any of those touchdowns stand out to you? Was it the 41-yarder?
Oh no, the one to Chase was the one to me. Like that was a big one for many reasons because the throw was great, the route was great, the catch was great, and it gave them that 2-for-1 at the end of the half. And then they, to their credit, they circled back around and got the touchdown to start the second half. And that's where I thought, wow, you're up 2 scores now. You're in a good spot. You're in a good place. You're in a great place. And they weren't. That's the part to me that was really, really weird. I thought the route to Yoshavash down to the 2. And
that was a beautiful ball.
It was. It hung, but it hung because the guy was in Joe's lap. So he just kind of just flipped it out there. And it was a great ball in general and a great play by Andre to make the catch.
Well, he also shielded the defender.
Yes. Yes.
Brilliantly well. Well, he almost did like a pirouette. He found the ball, then he stopped, slowed down. I just thought it was a terrific catch and a great play on both ends. We haven't talked too much about the Dax Hill injury, and we referenced it earlier, but that's a big one. They're going to probably lose one of their starting corners. We don't know the diagnosis yet. We know
it's bad.
It's a right knee injury. He came up hobbling on actually it was a Cam Taylor Britt breakup of a pass intended for Zay Flowers on 3rd down. Dax Hill was passing off Zay Flowers to Cam. He made the break. His knee buckled. How did you think the Bengals secondary played after Dax Hill went out of the game? Because Dax Hill was supposed to be moving inside to play nickel for Mike Hilton, who was inactive. And then so you had Jalen Davis at the nickel. You had DJ Turner one corner, Cam Taylor Britt the other.
Horrifying. they're going to have to figure something out, and I'm not sure what that's going to be. And again, let's make this clear. I'm not trying to make excuses. That's a really good offense, right? I mean, they're so good. I mean, Lamar throws some weird, wonky passes at time where you're like, oh my gosh, guy, that's a horrible pass. But he also throws some really good passes, and he extends plays, and he runs, and they run. That said, I thought Jalen Davis was just horrifyingly bad. He's a good guy.
I mean, he's a special teamer.
At best, Mike. At best. And so now we're down to rookies, man. We're down to Fig Newton. We're down to Dejon Anthony.
Yep.
I mean, and he's a safety, but we're down to young kids. And I'm not sure how it's going to work moving forward. Now, you get lucky because you play the Giants. You play
the Browns.
Deshaun Watson, who couldn't throw a pass to you or me from 10 yards on air. I mean, that's part of it.
Break.
And you play the dysfunctional
Philadelphia Eagles.
And then the Raiders. I mean, so you have a chance to get back to this. I'm not trying to be Pollyanna. I'm not. I promise you people I'm not. But again, you're playing a really good offense today, shorthanded when the injuries happened. I don't know where it goes with Dax. We don't know. And I mean, tomorrow it's possible, Mike, that we find out he's done for the year or he's got a week and that's it. Now, the other part is Mike Hilton will probably be back next week too. That's a good thing a little bit. So now you can figure out that, okay, Cam and DJ are outside corners and that's fine. But today, once all that stuff happened, oh my word, they were a mess in the secondary. And I got to tell you, you can correct me if I'm wrong and you can certainly tell me I'm an idiot. Geno Stone has not been very good.
No. And we were observing that collectively in the press box today. I mean, Geno on the, I believe on the likely touchdown, the incredible,
the crazy off to the side.
Lamar Jackson. That only, by the way, that crazy likely pass to Isaiah Likely, I believe that one went for only, looking it up right here.
It was 5 yards. It was 6 yards, and he threw it from like the 22-yard line.
Yes.
I mean, that was insane.
Now, for people who did not see that,
go see it. Go look it up, kids.
Sam Hubbard comes off the edge and has Lamar Jackson dead to rights.
But he doesn't. He does, but he doesn't. He does, but he doesn't. You're right.
Fair point, Skinny. Fair point. But he's bearing down on Lamar, and he has a beat on him. And Lamar, as you said earlier, just gives him a stiff arm. And this is a 290, 300-pound defensive edge that he gives a stiff arm to. But still, nobody's breaking open.
Nope.
And it was like that Burrow pass in the playoffs against the Raiders, if I'm recalling correctly, the wild card game. As he's heading out of bounds, he just flings the ball in a play that
into the middle, Mike, into the middle where you're not supposed to throw the ball.
Where if there's any Bengal around, that should be a red zone interception.
Yes.
And he finds Isaiah Likely, and Geno Stone was the DB that appeared to be beat on that.
Yeah, it was insane. That was again, tip your cap because that stuff doesn't happen with 96.3% of the quarterbacks in this league. But man, was that a great play.
Yeah, it was that was one hell of a game, and it just for Bengal fans listening to this or watching this on our YouTube pages. It's a frustrating repeat of what's been happening for 3 of the first 4 weeks and now 4 of the first 5 weeks.
Mike, 4 losses by 1 score, 4 losses by 16 total points. It's not an excuse. It's just this team is better than what it's doing. And that's the only thing I can give you solace for as a Bengals fan.
And I'll give you this solace. And I'm just it's Pollyanna, it's rose-colored glasses, whatever you want. The next 4 games are winnable.
No question. No question.
If this team somehow goes to 5-4,
game on.
Okay, we can resume the discussion of a relevant Bengals season. That's what we're talking about.
Yes.
Can the Bengals get back to relevancy? Right now, they are a team that can't finish, and they're 1-4.
And we have just documented that with a special teams miscue, defensive miscues, a Joe Burrow interception on a day when he played great, and arguably a Zach Taylor miscue of being conservative to kick a 53-yard field goal rather than get it closer. It was every single solitary phase, coaching, offense, defense, special teams. And that has to be fixed. And the weird part is, Mike, it can be fixed because you saw today when they were really good, They were really good.
What do you got up on Local 12, Skinny?
So that's the column I wrote. Just got done with it. It'll be up shortly. Again, you can blame the field goal, you can blame Zach and all those things, but there were literally everything in every phase. And that's kind of this season in a microcosm of they can't seem to make the play they have to make. Our podcast obviously is up, Mike. I did a Q&A with our sports anchor, Yanni Trangelis, that'll be up. And I've got my game story, which, Mike, you're old school like me. Do you write an old school game story like I do? I wrote an old school. I write about
pretty much. I do.
Yeah,
yes,
I do. I do it. I do it.
I do think there's value in
I do too.
Writer
people
that covers
read
the team.
People read it actually.
What happened in the game?
Correct. It's funny.
Happened.
It's funny. It gets more reads than I've ever thought, and I put like tweets in there for touchdown plays and stuff.
Sure.
And
as do I.
No, yeah, right. I actually enjoy it. So I get done with it. Like, there's a satisfaction of, you know what, that was, you know what, nobody cares but me, but I like writing that little old school game story of here's a running game story of here's what happened, here's a good lead, here's how the game went, and then write it from there, and then all your tweets and stuff. I love that stuff.
Yeah, and I think there's still a demand for that. 350 to 400 words on how the Bengals broke their fans' hearts on Sunday.
There you go.
41-38 overtime loss to the Baltimore Ravens. Bengals 1-4 on the season. Ravens improved to 2-3. Next up for the Bengals, Sunday Night Football in the Big Apple, or at least right across the Hudson River.
Close enough.
Yes, close enough. At MetLife Stadium against the New York Giants, a team that they're clearly better than, but we've said that before early here in the 2024 season. Take nothing for granted with these Bengals.
Correct.
They have to definitely head into the week with that attitude. Want to thank everybody for watching this episode of the Jungle Roar Skinny Bengals postgame pod following a Week 5 Bengals overtime loss to the Baltimore Ravens. Be sure to follow Skinny on the X at Local 12 Skinny and all of his great content on Local12.com. I'm getting to that.
Okay.
And yours truly on the X at Trags, Trags, as well as CLNS Cincy with a Y.com. And you can catch this podcast on youtube.com/@Jungle Roar Pod. Until next week, for Richard Skinner, I'm Mike Petralia. Thanks for watching.